On this episode, we try harder and harder until our poop turns into diamonds.
Don't call it a comeback.
Welcome to Save Every Universe. My name is Alec Garcia. I am a man who takes a summer job in Yellowstone after a devastating loss, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this funny business that turns out to be not so funny.
My name is Robbie. I'm the leader of a special forces squad who has been betrayed by a mole and now must stop an international terrorist ring from destroying Sin City.
Who were you last week?
Last week I was the beloved Dr. Mario.
Yeah, that was a really good, I can't remember exactly what your description was.
I've been sick all month.
Italian, whatever, something.
We were talking about mental disease.
Yeah.
I've been to the doctor. It seemed relevant to me.
And I was Amanda Ripley from Alien Isolation.
Oh,
who
yeah.
is Ripley's, like the
Daughter,
Ripley
right?
from the movie is her daughter, and she's like looking for her mom and stuff like that. Which Alien Isolation is a pretty cool game. I picked it up. It's like really cheap now, and it got kind of some flack, I think, for like being too slow, or for I'm not really sure what some of the criticisms.
There's not a lot of fighting by you, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of creeping around and just walking around, but the ambiance and like the styling of it feels really like the music and everything feels really true, I think, to like an Alien movie. I think it's so far I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, if you listen to any of our past episodes, we did a horror episode with a guest, Tony.
Yeah, and he mentioned Alien Isolation.
Yeah, he has a lot of good things to say about that.
Yeah, I think it's a solid game. I think it's really different. It's not like an action-packed Alien like shooter or anything like that. You're creeping around doing not much, but it's the atmosphere and everything's really great.
I still don't think I could play a game like that.
So today we are talking about just a topic that seems to be emerging now. It's sort of like the other side of the coin from everyone bitching about loot boxes and EA and Bungie and everything. There's a success story that's been like slowly bubbling up with Rainbow Six Siege and with The Division having sort of a massive comeback. If you have not seen Clean Prince Gaming's videos, how Rainbow Six Siege made gaming's greatest comeback, and what gaming should learn from Rainbow Six Siege, those are awesome videos where he goes like really deep dive into why these games are great, why they're having a massive comeback. He gives stats in there that their player base is like almost as big as Overwatch's, which is just mind blowing.
Yeah, from what I saw, it was they're at 25 million players right now.
Yeah.
With about 2.3 million every single day.
Yeah, it's a really loyal player base.
Yeah, and Overwatch has 30 million. So that's pretty good, pretty solid.
Close.
It's been kind of interesting to watch because, and I think we talked about this in some past episodes about games that aren't finished coming out and what that looks like. And this is kind of the other side of that. Like what happens when the developers don't give up on it. They keep listening to players. They keep working on the game. They keep trying to keep the game alive. They don't increase the price. They even drop it. Is there a chance to bring it back? And I think Rainbow Six
is really, I mean, it took a long time, but which is really cool because games like Evolve, which were like total train wrecks, and people it had so much hype, people bought it, and then they completely abandoned it, including the developers and the publishers. They just cut off funding to it and they just shut it down. And these other ones that faced very similar obstacles persevered and were loyal to their player base and listened to the player base and have turned them into really good games. People are raving now about The Division after its 1.8 update, and people are just nuts about Rainbow Six Siege.
And we had talked about this before, but Final Fantasy XIV is a great example of like a game that they just were like, okay, they shut it down for a little bit.
Yeah.
You got a new director.
There's just so much backlash.
And if you go back and watch like videos and gameplay of 1.0, it's pretty horrible. I had played the beta and was like, nope, this game sucks. I'm not playing it.
Yeah.
And then when they were going to do 2.0, they did an open beta.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe this, but this is actually a pretty cool game. And I've mostly played it without relapsing in my subscription.
Right.
But they've done such a good job of listening to players. The director of that game was an actual, like, he played in a world-rated clan in different MMOs.
Right.
So he knew, like, what made a good game. And they turned it all around. And I think seeing developers do this kind of thing is a really cool trend.
So it makes me wonder if they're just being sloppy and shoving crappy games out the door, and then they're like reacting and being like, oh crap, now we have to fix this piece of junk, or if we're actually witnessing the evolution of gaming with these games, quote, games of services is what they call it, where people expect players to play these games for a really long time, and it's supposed to be this long-term investment, and then some developers just don't stick with it when they don't get an overwhelmingly positive response right out the door.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because I think with the way like the internet works now, games are no longer stagnant. Like the way games come out day one is...
Well, I think I almost think there's like games need to be evaluated sort of in two categories. Like when I think about a game like The Last of Us, I expect a certain amount of we're working on it. It'll be done when it's done, and it's going to be great. And that's it.
Right.
And there's a bigger incentive in the developer publisher side for them to get it right on the very first try, because it's a story that you're going to play start to finish, and they get one shot at just wowing you. That's not the same thing with these games that you're expected to play and grind and get gear and upgrade and play like almost as a hobby for the long term. They should almost be evaluated kind of in two separate categories, as like an installment game versus like the game as a service.
You know, I think, I mean, I agree with you, but even that is, I think, come into question a little bit with games like Breath of the Wild, that they're getting updates that actually do change the core
DLC
gameplay.
and stuff, yeah.
Final Fantasy 15 had a ton of, well, people didn't really like how Chapter 10 played out, so we changed it.
Right.
And they just, like, so by the time I got there,
that's true. That's
I had a completely
point.
different experience in my campaign story than somebody who played it like in the first month.
Right.
They've added all kinds of new functionality. You can now like cycle through the characters when you play Final Fantasy 15, which you could not when I beat it. Like that just dropped a month ago, and that was over a year after the game came out.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I think that would have never happened.
There's more of a spectrum though, right? Like because on one end you have like really tightly scripted games that really don't change for the most part. Most of them don't change that much, and then you go to the other side where it's a constant evolving feedback with the community, between community and developers.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's dig a little bit into like what Rainbow Six Siege at least has changed. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, so we should come right out and say that neither of us has really played it that much, but
we both played the open beta.
Yeah, and weren't nuts about it.
No, and we were both Rainbow Six players. Like we had played, I think we've played all of them.
Yeah, we played the crap out of Rainbow Six Vegas. And
we played Vegas and Vegas 2.
Stuff like that.
We played Ghost Recon.
I played the original Rainbow Six way back on PC days, where like, I mean, you could plot out your little course with the green lines and crap like through the rooms, and your team would like it was just like so advanced at the time. But
and I played a lot on the original Xbox. And they even tried to do voice commands back then, and you'd be like open frag or open flash
they had
and
voice,
clear.
They were one of the first ones that had voice commands. Yeah, and open frag and clear. And
open flash. Yeah, because there'd be hostages.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd be all copy that. Open frag and clear. And you'd be like, no, you're gonna kill everyone. And it'd be like mission failed. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, we played those a lot.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of the series for a long time, but we played the beta, and I just really wasn't that crazy about it.
Yeah, I know for me, one, it felt slow. It felt really slow. But now that I've watched videos, I see there's a lot of intricacies that I had never really
I thought I really wanted to be on board with it when I saw some of the gameplay footage before it released. I was like, man, look with the destructible environments and stuff, it looked just incredible. I wanted to like the game, and then when I played it, it just felt so slow. It felt just real clunky, and I don't know, it just wasn't my cup of tea, or it wasn't what I was expecting. But that seems to be the case, is it wasn't what anybody was expecting, and it kind of blindsided everybody, and then it took a long time to sort of turn around.
Right. I know personally, I get a little intimidated, especially because I have kids, and sometimes I'm playing like in the middle of the day. It seems like it certainly was back then. It seems like it is now, that voice communication was like mandatory. You couldn't just go in there quiet and kind of wing it.
You needed to communicate with your team.
Right. Yeah. And I wasn't really comfortable doing that just in a normal day-to-day setting.
Right.
Like, in Destiny, I may coordinate with a raid, but like I kind of schedule that.
Yeah.
I don't expect like in every strike or everything I do to be like, oh, I got to be coordinating with my team.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So this seems like it requires a lot of communication.
And like your undivided attention. You have to sit and play that game.
Yeah. I'm not in a place in my life where I can do that.
Neither am I. So maybe that's part of it as well.
But I will say, I'm actually kind of surprised how many people are willing to do that.
Right.
I mean, with this much of a player base willing to talk to each other. I mean, my experience in like online shooting games are a bunch of idiots with a mic who have like super loud music and are screaming for mom to bring. I mean, it's just a bad experience.
That was one of the things I saw where like what they did right was that it really shaped a community that is just like they have zero tolerance policies with cheaters. Like they attract a more mature audience, like to hear stories about people like getting welcomed in, like total strangers being like, hey, you've never played this before, right? Go left and check out that door. That's a good like easy first timer strategy. I'll cover your back. Just like people helping each other and teaching each other how to play the game, which is for how toxic a lot of games are. That's crazy that they've been able to sort of cultivate that type of community. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think community, which is something they did right and everything I read as well, is really important. When I would play games, like I tried to play League of Legends way back when. and I get screamed at by people. They're like, "Oh, you can't do that with that guy," and no, he does. Oh my god, I can't believe it. And I was like, I don't care. Like,
I abandoned League of Legends pretty quick
because
I liked it, but it was like people were not welcoming at all, and it was like, know what you're doing or get out.
Yeah, and that's fine. And if you're like kind of hardcore and that's what you like, that's cool.
Definitely.
But to me, I wasn't willing to get screamed at by somebody who's like, this is probably like the best thing in their life they're good at, and that's fine. But I don't want to get screamed at by somebody.
So one of the things I think on the idea of community, one of the things I think they did do well is take Bungie for an example. It seems like there's like the community, and then there's Bungie, and there's like an impassable chasm between the two. And it seems very much like with the developers of Siege, they are the developers and the player base, that them together, that's the community. And I think that is something that they've done really right. There's transparency,
right?
And talking about that like installment type game versus like a game as service, I think with any of these games that you're expected to play them for a long period of time and it's a game as a service, transparency is not optional. Like Bungie, when they release something, they're trying to, they act like they're dropping the next big installment of Halo or something, right? When they really should be like total transparency every step of the way, and they should be part of the community instead of it being this great divide between the two.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think Bungie's still struggling. And I think a lot of the bigger companies are struggling with that, and why they've had some of those failures like in 2017, because Bungie they'll put out like notes and say, well, we're going to be transparent from here on out. Caught us, okay, our bad, but next time. And then they really haven't succeeded. I mean, there was the patch notes they put out like in December, was a very detailed list of like what we think we can accomplish, what we can't, and that was a good step forward. But I think people were pretty pissed off because that's like the most that's the most feedback they've really given in detail at all during Destiny 2. Whereas in games like this, it seems like Ubisoft is being like really upfront with like, here's where we're going. Here's what we think. Here's where you guys are mad at us, and here's what we're going to change. And they're like constantly adapting and giving like, well, we can't accomplish that by the next patch, but we're going to try and do this instead or whatever. I think on these living games, I think you're right. I think that's the only way you're going to keep people happy. Which makes sense, right?
I think having your player base united is like, you have to do that. Like, and I think it seemed like EA was almost got that. Like when they released that new version of Battlefield 1, that if you buy it at $60, you get everything. And they sort of got grandfathered into people who paid full price and then bought a season pass. Like they sort of tried to level the playing field so that everyone is playing the same maps. And they tried to do that with the DLC being free on Battlefront 2. It seemed like they were going in a really good direction, and then they shot themselves in the foot with the loot boxes. But I think transparency and keeping the player base united are two things that Siege does correctly, because they give like all the maps that come out that are new, like the whole player base gets them. There's no paid entry.
But it's been a process. It's been several years.
Definitely.
I think it's been over 2 years now.
I think it came out in 2015.
But I think Battlefront 2 is already taking good steps in that direction. Like they came out with free heroes already. That game's only been out since. And
that's, I guess that's what I'm like, people just explode like this game is this, and it's a piece of crap. But that's not really that true anymore. And even with Destiny 2, like if you look back at, I mean, to the one side, like they should have learned their lesson a little bit better. But like on the other side, it's a very similar pattern that's happening now, is that people loved it when it very first came out. And then they said, what the hell, where's all the end game? And what's all with all this stuff? And then the DLC came out and people said, what the hell is this? There's not enough. And then by the third DLC, it was like this game that was like, oh, we have to review it again because it's a totally new game. And like, I think the same thing's going to happen. Right? And I think the same thing's Destiny 2 seems to be following a very similar pattern.
The next DLC will be better. It'll probably make the game a lot stronger.
But there will still be a lot of critics.
Well, and there'll be all the people who are already left. The people who are still there are going to like it. And then there's going to be some Taken King year 2 equivalent. You're probably right.
But to your point,
so set your calendar. We're calling it year 2, sometime next September.
Play vanilla and then come back for the third DLC.
And then everyone's going to say it's a new game. So with the comeback of Siege, there's other games that are kind of starting to get considered the same way. I found a lot of threads that were like, maybe this will be like Rainbow Six Siege. Like everyone's wanting that new renaissance for their game. Games like For Honor or whatever. But a game that does seem to be following that trend, especially in like the last month, is The Division.
Yeah.
We played The Division right when it came out.
Up to the first DLC and then a little bit after that.
Yeah. I've gone back.
For me anyway.
I've had forays back into it, but I've never really stuck with it because I was kind of let down by like the end game. It just felt thin.
Yeah.
I loved leveling, like when we were going up, and then when we
it really was so fun to play together.
It was.
Yeah. I mean, like the loot shooter concept, like The Division and Destiny was like kind of it for console players, like to have that type of experience. And it was an awesome game, and then it had the exact same. You hit the end game, and you were like, "What is this?"
Now?
Like the game just didn't feel finished.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of patches also in the last, been over a year. And as of, I think September is when they dropped this big 1.8. And I think with the holiday season, they made it cheap.
Yeah.
In fact, right now, it's still like on super
you can
sale.
get the full game on PlayStation Store for like $15. You can get the full gold package for less than $30.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff. I fired it up actually because of this episode.
Yeah.
Like was trying to, I didn't even know where to begin. There was like the map exploded with stuff to do.
Yeah. And they made tweaks to PvP and all kinds.
Yeah, they've done a lot. They added a new PvP zone. They redid the Dark Zone. They've added a bunch of new like missions, underground stuff. They retooled the gear.
Yeah.
They gave like more stuff to grind. You can like optimize all your gear now. And,
Right.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff to do.
Yeah.
Especially compared to like back when we quit playing or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool, right? Because that means, again, they were listening to their player base. And most of this stuff was cheap or free. I mean, the 1.8 patch was free.
Right.
It wasn't part of a DLC.
Yeah.
Again, and that's Ubisoft as well.
Yeah. So The Division and Ghost Recon Wildlands is having, like, it had a similar thing where it launched and it had strong, I think pretty strong sales from what I remember. And then it kind of, like, the player base dropped off. But now they're adding more content. They added the cool Predator mode, which the music and stuff in that is just so badass. But anyway, but they're supporting it. And it makes me wonder why more AAA games, and maybe this is the beginning of it, but why more AAA games didn't support their game. Because like Evolve, as an example, like the concept of that was so awesome.
Cool,
and it seems like if they would have stuck with it and figured out how to balance it and listen to the players, they could have really turned that into something good. And I guess if it's bleeding money, you have to make a judgment call from the publisher side. But to some degree, it's like it's probably more expensive to go start over than to just fix the damn thing.
Probably. And, that's kind of one of the advantages of being a big publisher, right? You have the capital to say, no, we're going to fix this. Yeah. When you're Square Enix or when you're Ubisoft, you can put that funding in. An independent studio, they're done.
Right.
They can't do that.
Right.
I mean,
like for independence, like with No Man's Sky, like that was the blowback on that was so crushing. Like I am shocked that they didn't just give up and walk away, but they've continued to support that game and push updates and improve it to try to make good on the promises that they made originally.
Yeah. I actually kind of wonder if you're right. It would be cool if this is like kind of the start of some of these titles.
People actually having integrity in what they're making. Don't put it out at all if it's not good. And
that's true. But I wouldn't mind seeing kind of like what PUBG, what PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is doing, where they're like, hey, it's not done yet.
That's definitely the other approach, is giving that, paying for early access and just being on the ride of that development and going in with eyes open that you're stepping into an unfinished thing and you're going to take the ride rather than paying $60 and they're like, it's done and it's the best ever. And then you're like, no, it's not done. Yeah. But we have DLC coming for $20.
It's an interesting thing too, because on games that are these like, they're like living games or whatever, something like Final Fantasy 14 is subscription based.
Right.
So they can kind of do that.
Yeah.
It's hard. It seems like it's harder to be like, well, you're going to pay $60. We're not going to charge you a subscription, but we're going to keep updating it. Because at times I've felt weird playing games like this because I've played MMOs for so long.
So, I mean, we've talked before too. Microtransactions aren't going to go away. There has to be a certain amount of how do they monetize over time to continue supporting that if they're going to give like maps for free and those kinds of, there has to be monetization somewhere to support that without a subscription based thing. And I think a subscription based thing is a huge barrier. And with consoles, like Final Fantasy 14, you pay your PlayStation subscription if you play off console, and then you're supposed to pay like another. That's a massive barrier.
Yeah, a lot of people won't touch it.
Yeah,
you included. Yeah, no, I've been like, dude, this is quick.
I'm not going to pay
think about
$15 a month or whatever it is, $10 a month.
Right, but it's funny because there are people who will gladly pay that in microtransactions.
Right,
but you can't tell them. You know, it's like when you make it mandatory, they're like, no, that's ridiculous. Yeah. But it's like, dude, you've dropped like $30 a month in loot boxes or whatever.
right.
Which is fine. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting, I think, paradigm between the two types of games.
Yeah.
I would personally, I'd love a like, hey, this isn't done yet, $40. And, you know, we're going to continue to update this, maybe charge you for some DLC if we need to, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't play PUBG, but it's on PC and Xbox, right?
Yeah. Apparently it's a train wreck on Xbox, but...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be. I could play it on PC, I guess, but I haven't done it yet.
Going back to what Siege did well, one thing I do want to point out too is, because I did re-download it after the beta and played a couple rounds one other time. And one of the things that they did was super smart. And I remember this from all my marketing knowledge is if something is inherently good, but just no one has tried it, how do you get people to do it? You give it away for free and let them try it and let them see how good it is. And then, you know, you'll grow your customer base basically. And that's something that Siege did, is they would do the free to play weekends where you could download the whole game, no restrictions, and play from like Friday to Tuesday or Friday to Monday or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's so brilliant. That's enough
really
time
smart.
to like be like, wow, this game is actually much better than I expected. And then make a purchase decision after that. And
Yeah,
that's one of the
Overwatch has done free weekends too. It is a really smart.
It makes me wonder why more games that are like these long-term, like Destiny or whatever, aren't using that exact same strategy. Not just doing discounts, but like letting people have the whole enchilada for a week or for a weekend or
give
whatever.
A little taste of the heroin. Yeah. No, absolutely. I remember MMOs doing that. That's the first time I ever saw it, was with like World of Warcraft and games like that. But why not? Why not do it? You're not going to be able to beat Destiny 2 and do everything you can do in it in a weekend.
Right. And if it's designed and engineered to be a long-term hobby platform, then even if they they burn through the story content in a weekend, who cares? Because that's not the point of the game.
Right.
Like give it away for free for a weekend and let people try it, and you'll grow that player base again.
Right. It almost shows like they're afraid to do it. Or like, I don't know why.
There should be a confidence to like, we're so sure, like we're the old school, like door-to-door pitch.
I'm so sure you'll love this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it works, and it's a great idea. I agree with you. I wouldn't mind seeing that more too going forward with games. I know, because I know personally I've used that to test stuff out. I know we've talked about this on our open betas episode, but sometimes I use open betas or
as a demo,
free trials to see if I'm going to like it.
Right.
I almost bought Wildlands out of the gate because of it. Like
we had a lot of fun.
We had a lot of fun with it.
Beta,
and I still think, you know, if it goes down or if I catch a sale, apparently I missed a big sale, which I'm kind of bummed about. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time with that.
Yeah, we did. Do you have any closing thoughts on this topic of comebacks and development and saving pieces of poop from the fire and turning them into something good?
I just think it's cool that it's possible. Yeah. I think it's neat that like the internet allows this like death, this resurrection or whatever, this comeback that is even a possibility. Because like For Honor was a game I really wanted to play.
Yeah.
It's had some strong patch releases. Right. It seems like they've improved a lot. It's still $60. I'll probably wait.
Yeah. Well, but if it follows the path of the Division and of Siege, then it probably will be worth picking up as something.
There are games that I'm kind of like, well, I wouldn't have bought that, but now I'm watching those videos of Siege. It's hard not to want to pick that up. Like it looks so much fun.
Awesome. Yeah.
Especially since.
And one of the quotes though from I can't remember if he was the brand manager or something. It was a Rock Paper Shotgun is the site. They had an article about it, and one of the things he was talking about is he said we didn't expect for the player base to grow at all at release. He's like, for the first few months we didn't expect it to grow at all. We just wanted to get some people playing it, and we wanted to get it working and basically start working on it, because we knew we were playing the long game and that we would win in the end. Like they went into it with that strategy sort of in mind, and it's interesting because it seems like so many of these AAAs, like if they don't get like 85 quadrillion copies
throwing roses on the street
and blah blah, then they're like they want to walk away and wash their hands of the whole thing. And I think with these games and services, people need to go into it. These developers need to go into it, and the publishers especially need to go into it knowing that it's a long-term play, and that they're serving the player base first to make them happy to keep them playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think these successes will help that. I think more people will learn lesson, turning heads. This type of dedicated player base, like so far after the game is released, I mean, bigger corporations are going to see that and learn something from it.
Right. That they should, make something good.
Yeah. And not give up on something.
Yeah, so that's true. Thank you for listening to Save Every Universe. If you enjoyed this episode, please go give us money. So much money. Do you have something to say?
Yeah. Also email us. We want to hear from you. SaveEveryUniverse@gmail.com. If you got comments about the episode, critiques.
So in this situation, I'm Activision and Robbie's, the developers.
We would love to hear
Rainbow
from
Six
you.
Siege. No, money.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Or money.
Or if you want to hear us talk about something or whatever.
Yeah, email us at saveeveryuniverse@gmail.com.